But I just wanted to raise something with you that enormously concerns me. And it concerns me to the point that I don't know if I'm living not simply in a democracy, but whether I'm living in a stable society. And the case I'm going to give you isn't, or the example I'm going to give you, isn't unique, all right? It's common, but it's perhaps, in many senses of the word, it is the most extreme of the last wee while. But I know that it's happened before, and so do you, and we all know it will happen again. In fact, the potential consequences could only get worse. This week, on Monday, in actual fact, a 51-year-old gang member from Horowhenua, Māori, was arraigned in the Palmerston North District Court to face charges of killing 3 people and seriously injuring another. And when I mean seriously injuring another, I mean the person that he injured lost an arm and a leg, which I think is pretty major, don't you think, Josh? If you lost an arm and a leg?
Yeah, that is pretty major, yeah.
I would think that. So you are literally crippled for life, all right? But he also killed 3 other people. They are, well, allegedly, I'm not even going to say allegedly, Leslie Brooks, Luke Shaw, and Jacob Cody. And you won't remember their names, or the person who lost the arm and the leg, Jeremy Totini Kappa. You'll forget their names. You'll never know them again. But they were all riding in one of those non-criminal motorcycle clubs at the weekend. Got their leathers on. They're all roughly in their 30s and 40s. I think one was in their 50s. No, one was in their they were 30s and 40s, weren't they? Leslie Brooks is a woman, by the way. And this man, the 51-year-old gang member, flying high on methamphetamine, simply drove into them just after 8 o'clock on December the 7th last year at Utuku, which is near Taihape. And the man had been on meth to a significant extent. Incredibly, this wasn't the first time that this man had been caught driving under the influence. In fact, this 51-year-old gang member had been driving under the influence at least twice before, because he's been previously convicted twice of that or a similar offence. So this is the 3rd time in which this particular 51-year-old gang member, high on meth, was driving. I understood he was disqualified at the time, but that might come out further in this particular case. And he then drove into a group of absolutely decent, law-abiding New Zealanders riding their motorbikes on a particular weekend run, and killed 3 of them and severely injured and maimed another. Now, as I said, this happened on State Highway 1. And you remember, don't you? All of you remember. I remember that tragedy. It was just before Christmas. Yeah, I do. Well, this, as a result, they packed into the Palmerston North District Court yesterday, and went through the pathetic grimace of giving a moment's silence for the victims. And this is where I get really angry. Gave a moment's silence for the victims and then said F you to the victims and the victims' families for the rest of that particular day in court. I'll tell you why. Because the judge, Jonathan Krebs, gave bail to this 51-year-old. And not only did he give bail to this 51-year-old, did Judge Jonathan Krebs in the Palmerston North District Court, but he did so with the assent and approval of the Palmerston North Police, who apparently said they'd looked at the statutory test and were not against the application. And you can imagine that that caused amongst the victims' families enormous upset and concern. Now, I wouldn't thought just quietly it would, in actual fact, have just engendered enormous upset and concern amongst the victims' families, but I would suggest to you that anybody who lives in the Manawatu Horowhenua area and has this killer let loose in the public by Jonathan Krebs and the Palmerston North Police would also be concerned, because this man is a proven menace to society. And he doesn't even need to be tried for this case to deny bail, because it's bloody obvious he's a meth head, and he's a killer meth head. Now, the other thing that's most amazing about this is that he's got bail on a conditions that the judge says, and this is the ludicrous part of this, we just know this is a lie. And how Judge Krebs could say this and not be risibly ridiculed in the Palmerston North courts, just beyond me. But the judge said that he's going to impose conditions to the bail to mitigate any risks. And what are those conditions? He's going to have a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew. Oh, brilliant. A prohibition on driving and consuming alcohol and drugs, and to submit to random drug tests. You're a 51-year-old gang member. You've already been convicted of driving under the influence. And now, dear God, you are going to be let free after killing 3 people and maiming another, because the police don't oppose it and the justice system support it. You know that moment's silence in the Palmerston North District Court? You may as well laughed in the face of the husbands, of the wives, of the kids, of the people who have been killed. You may as well have told the cripple without now an arm and a leg, oh, listen, sport, isn't it a hoot? He's going around with all stationery and digits. Off he goes to enjoy his life while we screw you over again. I'm just saying to you that there are days in which I don't believe we live in a democracy, but there are also days, and this is one of those days, I don't believe we live in a stable society. I don't believe we give a rat's ass about victims in this country. We love the criminal, and we like to encourage them to kill, maim, hurt, rob, steal, and stand over as many decent citizens as we can, because we love to believe that they are somehow the real victims in any crime that's committed in this country. I've lost faith in New Zealand police. I lost faith in the New Zealand police a long time ago, but I've certainly lost faith in the justice system. But on days in which the justice system just stands up and says, up you, gives the fingers to the victims and to victims' families in this country in such glorious or inglorious technicolor as they did in the Monday in the Palmerston North District Court, I've lost faith in this country. What do you think?